Peace and blessings and namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today, and tomorrow we're going to have a special guest on the show, and her name is Aurora, the Andromedan. Okay, and I love that name. I'm going to tell you that now. Now, this sister is part of our Divine Feminine collective prayer group, and she is a very powerful psychic clairvoyant, okay? And she also reads tarot, but not the same type of tarot that you are used to. Like her cards, wait till you see them, okay? They're on some high-level stuff right now, okay? And she was one of the sisters that came to me, I guess ran across my videos and reached out for a few sessions, okay? And I can guarantee you that she was a hidden one. She was a hidden one. Some people, they reach out for me to sessions and they really don't need me. They just need me to remind them of who they are, okay? They just need me to activate some confidence in them. And this sister don't need me. All right, but I'm going to bring her onto the show because for those of you who are resonating with the twin flame journey that have been reaching out to me and been getting the answers like, I can tell you about you, then this is going to be the person that you need to talk to. So I'm going to put all of her information in the description box while it is airing, so you have a point of contact and you can go to her website. And the beautiful part about this Andromedan is she and I, along with others of our prayer group, we're all coming from different star seeds, right? And we all have our area of wisdom and knowledge, right, that we're bringing to the table. And some of them differ. It really does. But this is what it means to have the ability to coexist, okay? And if something else resonates with you, you can submit to a higher truth. You know what I mean? So even though I might not resonate that much with the twin flames thing because I'm more independent, this sister right here will have you understanding these things, okay? And I love her to death. She's hailing from the UK. So look forward to her tomorrow. Look forward to that. I am going to do it as a premiere. We're going to record it tonight, and I'm going to do it as a premiere, so you'll have the time that is going to air and her information as well. Now, welcome Aurora, the Andromedan. Now, to get into today's lesson, this transmission is important because it's dealing with healing the inner child, okay? And how important it is for those first 7 phases of life, to setting that correct foundation, all right? Because here's what I am finding out. In some of my sessions with people, I'm actually having the ability to discern when a personality starts switching, all right? And it comes across in the tone, it comes across in the frequency, it comes across in what is being said, all right? And then I can see when it switches back to the consciousness that is supposed to be dominant. And some of us still have a lower consciousness that is still attached to us. And this is the wounded child, okay? The wounded child sometimes come forth in conversations. Here's what I want to say about this. A lot of times, okay, when we are going through our youth journeys and we are children, sometimes the spiritual or the mental development, maturity-wise, ceases at the time of the traumatic experience, okay? So if you're going through these phases of growing, understanding, expansion, learning, okay, becoming broad, when you hit a traumatic experience, sometimes it stops it right then and there, okay? And then the function of the psyche now switches over to trying to deal with that traumatic experience, okay? So it kind of keeps us from elevating to higher levels of consciousness because now this traumatic experiences have taken a hold over the psychological mind, all right? Pay attention to me, please. Now, when this happens, we continue on in our growth, okay? We continue on in our teenage phases, our young adult phases, and sometimes these things become suppressed. And because it's no longer a factor, a magnified factor in your life, you're automatically assumed that you have gravitated past it, that you have healed past it. And every now and then, when something happens that is not in agreement with you, that inner child starts to speak out. Okay. And that inner child will start to speak out and look at things from that standpoint, from when they stopped growing and maturing mentally. So you will hear phrases like, well, this isn't fair, right? Or you will come across a very stubborn energy that's not ready to move. Okay. You will come across an energy that it's my way or the highway, or that has temper tantrums when things don't go their way. You'll come across energies that may lash out and project, okay, when they're going through something on their own. Right. You'll have come across that energy of it's everybody else's fault. And not taking accountability or responsibility. Understand that a lot of times when this happens, that is the inner child that is speaking. That's not the mature adult, right? The mature adult understands that when it comes down to fairness, fairness is also a mindset, okay? There is justice, and that is what you can perceive as fair, all right? Now, case in point, two people can do the exact same thing, okay? The exact same trespass, the exact same wrong. And then their karmic journey might play out two different ways. And if they are comparing it, one might say, it's not fair, I'm going through this, while the other one is not going through that. But you don't understand the psychology behind why the decisions were made that may differ between these two people that have experienced the same thing. Okay, so when you're trying to judge fairness, unless you have the ability to see from the highest vantage point, or go all the way back into the regressive mind to understand where the triggers are and what catapulted this type of behavior, you don't have the ability to judge whether or not something is fair. All right, but a child does. Okay, think about it, in the schoolyard. Think about when somebody was always winning and somebody felt like that they was always losing. Remember when we used to play dodgeball? And dodgeball was one of my favorite games, right? But I was a little thing, right? And because I was this little thing and shorter than the rest of my classmates, when we would get into the dodgeball, I could always hit that matrix move on, right? But taller beings would always get hit in the face. Right? Now, to the person that's taller, that might not have seemed fair. You know what I mean? Like, why is it that I'm always being targeted? Okay. But if you see the dynamics of it, it's not about fairness. Okay. It's about learning how to maneuver with what you have been given. Okay. As opposed to trying to do something that somebody else cannot. Because on the flip side of that, when you are the smaller person, you might be the one that's getting bullied while the taller person is not. So you see, when it comes down to fairness and justice, you can't put a monopoly on that. Okay. But an inner child who does not understand these things may cry out about injustices, may cry out about fairness, may cry out about, or may point fingers, may not have the ability to take accountability for their own actions. Okay, may not understand, the laws of cause and effect. We have to be careful when we're dealing with certain individuals, that is crying out for help, because you have to have a level of discernment to understand who it is that you are addressing at the time. Now, there is the being that you see in front of me, in front of you. You know what I mean? This being could go by Vela. This being is also Sophie. All right. Now, if I was an unhealed Sophie, if I didn't have to go through the rigorous process of revisiting my childhood, looking at those points of traumatic experience or dramatic experience that helped shape and mold my perspective and my views today, if I did not go back and look at them from the vantage point that I am seeing today and readjust the way that I thought, then at times when I felt like, things were going wrong in my life, it would have been very easy for me to play the blame game or the victimhood, okay, or cry out or throw a tantrum or just get, angry, as opposed to still standing in my vein of gratitude and peace and thankfulness and gratefulness, no matter what. Okay. Now, addressing the childhood, the ages from 1 to 7 is the most pertinent times in a child's eyes. Okay, in their years. This is where the foundation is set. Okay, this is where we as parents have to pay the most attention in teaching children about fairness, about justice, about cause and effect. Okay, about responsibility. And it becomes difficult for us as parents because let's face it, the child has a child mind. The child doesn't understand no sometimes. And if you do tell the child no, they don't understand why they are receiving a no. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm starting to overheat. This typically happens when I'm channeling. I get very, very hot. Okay, so if you see me start sweating, that's because that's what's going on right now. And just bear with me. So the child doesn't understand why they can't have the candy. All right. And, we can say as parents, because I said so, which doesn't really give an explanation to the child. It just tells the child that they don't have the ability to question your authority. Well, that's not helpful in developing the mind of understanding. It's only helpful in developing the mind of not to question. But what happens when we do that is later on in life, now the child wants to know why they couldn't have it. They're not going to question you anymore. They're just going to do it for themselves because they're going to figure out what the big deal is. Do you see what I'm saying? So a lot of times we find our children will go into an area of rebellion because we didn't take the time out to explain things. We're constantly saying, that they're a child. We stay in a child's place, or maybe you don't think that they are developed enough to understand the reasons why you are saying no to them. But you need to do that anyway, because from the age of 1 to 7, that's where the core foundation is. That's where they're building trust. That's where everything after that is built upon that foundation, right? So now you have children that may experience something very, very traumatic during those very tender years. I don't care if it's a molestation. Maybe they see their parents go through a divorce. Maybe they were physically abused, or overall spankings or punishments. Whatever it is that they felt was a traumatic point in their life, okay? If they don't heal that, if you're not expressing your sorrow to it now, and I'm not blaming parents right now, because there was no manual that came with this, right? Most of us who were parents, we had to learn trial and error as well. And we only mirrored what other parents did before them, okay? But each child has their own unique personality, and each parent have their own unique personality. Childhood traumas that go unhealed, they end up becoming suppressed. And typically, there's a trigger that will bring this behavior back out of them. A lot of you, if you're finding yourself having a hard time with rejection, overflated ego, or underflated ego, insecurities, or fear of failure, fear of success, stubbornness, okay, inability to change, blaming, okay, victimhood mentality, refusing to grow up, wanting to be in a childlike state as a full adult. It is your time to go back and figure out what the triggers are that is causing you to lash out and that inner child to come forth and see. When that inner child starts to do that, when something doesn't go the way that you expect it to go, when something doesn't go according to the plans that you try to make out, and I don't even know why we try to make out these plans, because life have a wonderful way of derailing a lot of things, right? I thought that I was going to be stayed secure in one area of my life, right? And boom, now it's flipped upside down, and I'm being pushed into a different area of my life, a different area of my gifting that I wasn't prepared to be. I wasn't prepared to do it. But I'm handling it with grace, okay? It is causing me to be a little bit disorganized, but I am handling it with as much grace as I can, all right? Now, if I had not healed that inner child, I may have rebelled against this. I may have gotten into a funk of, well, this wouldn't have happened if. I wouldn't be here if. This is because of this. This is because of that. That's a child. That's the inner child that still has not healed from either a traumatic experience, a dramatic experience, okay? Or not being given the proper levels of understanding of the whys things were. In our new earth, in this new day and age, while we are healing others, make sure we are still taking care and healing ourselves. All right? Because some things even surface in me and I'm going, whoa, where did that come from, Sophie? Now we got to figure out, where did it come from? Why did the child come forth? Why did the tantrum come forth, right? Why did the expectations come forth? Why do we have these expectations? And what are they? All right? Are they rooted in the imagination? Are they rooted in things that we thought and felt as a child that we never was able to let go of? All right? Is it rooted in feeling rejection from something or someone or a circumstance? All right? We need to know each and every 7-year cycle of development. And for those of us who are fighting with this, our inner child's emerging out of nothing and throwing tantrums or throwing fits or, being overinflated in the ego or underinflated in the ego, which comes across as timid and insecure and scared of rejection. Rejection. Life is full of rejections, right? You can apply for jobs and not get them. You get, so these things should be, at this point in your journey, very, very little concern of yours. Because we understand that when one door closes, another one opens. And typically the one that opens is a lot bigger than the one that closes. So why walk in fear of rejection? Okay? Why walk in fear of anything? We're just passing through. And while we are passing through, make sure to optimize the lessons that you are learning. They will make an entire difference, okay, in how you are shaping your reality and co-creating the way you process information. All right? So, for those of you who are counselors yourselves, ask for the wisdom and the discernment to figure out when there is a personality switch. Ask for your ears to be open to be able to hear it and see it. And when you have the ability to do that, now and only then and only then, will you be equipped with the proper tools to heal the situation. Okay? And meanwhile, if you are a counselor and somebody is talking to you and is triggering something in you, then that might be a reflection of yourself. So now you have to do the work. All right? But all of these are easy fix. And you got what it takes to do it. So I am Sophie. I love you all.